because when I looked at our Torah portion, it just goes on and it talks about how they begin to travel. They're moving from one place to the next. Now, after they have established the Mishkan, and after they have established who's going to be in charge of what, so we see this systematic move of the Most High. He's very orderly in what he's doing. I think also too in chapter number 10, he talks about these silver trumpets that are supposed to be blown when they're about to set out, or when he's supposed to gather the leaders. And by the way, those silver trumpets, they call the Katzotzorah or Katzotzorath, they were made by Moshe. Actually, Moshe made them, so they weren't part of the design that the other people have made, like Betziel. Moshe actually made these in particular trumpets, not shofars. And so they were supposed to be sounded for different reasons. Number one, to gather the elders, the leaders of the thousands, and also two, to cause all the congregation to gather to hear the instructions. And then also two, to let them know when it was time to move out. And then they give a description on how they would begin to proceed to move out. They would start off in the east, and then they would end up, with Yehuda and those other two tribes that were in the front with him on the east. And then after he would move out, the sons of Merari and Gershon, which are the Leviim, they then would go and tear down the tabernacle. But of course, we know that the Kohath family will go in after Aaron and his sons went in and covered all the vessels, which is the Ark of the Covenant, the showbread, and the altar of incense, and the menorah. And they would cover it. And then the Kohath family, depending on, who was in charge at that time, would come in by the direction of Eleazar to remove those items and pack everything up to move it out of the tabernacle so that the other families can come and tear the tabernacle down. This all happened in the second year, in the second month. Okay. And so the Most High then gives us a description, and I think I should just go there right quick. The Most High gives us a description in chapters. I want to make sure I give you the right chapter. Chapter number 9, where he talks about the Pesach. Okay, so in Numbers chapter number 9, the Most High begins to tell them about the Pesach. So while they were out in the wilderness, they were to keep the Pesach. Okay, so here it is. Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert in the first month of the second year after they had left Egypt. Okay, so a whole year went past. And he says, let the people of Israel observe the Pesach at its designated time, at its Mo'adol, which at its appointed time. And then he tells them again when it is. It's on the 14th day, and he's supposed to do it between the evenings and what they call a rev. And they shall observe it. They shall do it, and they shall do it as a designated time. And you shall observe according to all its regulations and rules. So we understand that the Pesach does have regulations and rules, and some of those regulations and rules, they cannot be forgotten. So even while we're in our exile, a lot of question comes up of whether or not you and I can keep the Pesach. The fact is that you and I can remember the Pesach, but there is no offering that you and I are making on that. So even if you cooked your lamb, you're not making an offering to the Most High, okay? And so Moshe told the people of Israel to observe the Pesach. A lot of people's thing is, they didn't keep the Pesach. They only kept the Pesach when they were in the land. That's not true. They kept the Pesach when they were in the desert. So the Most High was having them to observe the Pesach even in the 40 years period in which they were out there, okay? So they observed the Pesach on the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert, and the people of Israel acted in accordance with all that Yahweh had ordered, every word that came out of Yahweh's mouth. But there were certain people who had become unclean because of someone's corpse, meaning someone had died, and they were exposed to that uncleanness in verse number 6, and they could not observe the Pesach on that day. So they couldn't observe it the way that he said, according to the rules and the regulations, on that day, because they became unclean and defiled by a dead body. So they came before Moshe and Aharon that day, and they said to him, we're unclean because of someone's corpse. So they understood, they recognized what the Most High required of them by them being unclean. They knew, they were already been told all the time about when a person's unclean. So they said, hey, we can't, but why must we be kept from bringing the offering? So Pesach, again, is about making sure that, can you see my screen?
We see you. Oh, I see you.
You.
Okay. All right. Listen, that's crazy. All right. So here, let me share it. I'm doing all this talking. I was reading the scripture. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't see anything. All right. Screen's loading. Let's see. Okay, there it is. All right. So he was telling them they wanted to keep it, but they couldn't keep it because they were unclean. And what it said is they had to bring an offering. So bringing an offering to Yahweh is one of the rules and regulations for the Pesach. And that offering is when they were bringing the lambs and stuff to the Most High, they had to bring this offering to the Most High. Okay, a lamb or a goat of his first year. And so they weren't able to do that at that time. So Moshe answered them and he says, listen, I need you to wait. Okay, I need you to wait so that I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you. So what we learn from this is that every time when you and I are reading the Torah, Yah uses individuals to always get our questions answered. Okay, and what I mean by that, like for example, there was daughters or men who had nothing but daughters, and they wanted to know why would they not be able to have an inheritance. So they went to Moshe and they presented their case to him. He said, hold on, let me go find out. So we see that Moshe wasn't, directly just being like Paul, the apostle, saying, this is my command. He always told them what the Most High said. He says, so wait, so I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you. This is a big deal for us, okay? Meaning that the only words that matter to us and all the answers that we need is only going to come from the Most High, okay? So we're going to get our answers from the Most High through our prophet, which is Moshe. A lot of people don't want to hear what Yahweh has to say. They would rather hear what a man has to say. But our leader, our prophet, he didn't do that. Okay. A lot of people think that the Most High was just talking to Moshe, and then Moshe came up with some stuff and he told, the children of Israel this, and he told them this. And this is why they call it the law of Moshe. Okay. But it's not the law of Moshe. Every word that was ever spoken to Moshe is from Yohewah. Okay. And so as you can see, he testifies and says, listen, wait here, right? So I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you. And so Yahweh said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel. Again, two individuals or a few people came to him asking him this question, but Yah takes the few and he answers everybody. He's going to answer everybody. I need you to tell all the families, okay? The people, the sons of Israel about what I'm going to tell you. If any of you now or in the future generations is unclean because of a corpse, or he's on a trip abroad. So now the Most High introduces the idea of someone taking a trip. It's not just them being unclean because of a corpse. He tells them if they're on a trip, so they're abroad somewhere, he says, nevertheless, he is to observe Pesach. Why? Why would the Most High tell them that even though you're in a long trip, or even if you had touched a dead corpse, you are still required to observe the Pesach? Why would he tell them that?
Because the people, when they observed it, they were unclean as well and had impurities.
Yes. So there's always going to be an occasion where someone might have that experience. So what we're talking about is natural life. Okay. So in life, you're going to have situations where you're going to become unclean. The Most High says this. Okay. Any uncleanness, like especially a corpse, you're unclean for at least 7 days. So they're going to miss that opportunity to do that. But also too, he says, if you're on a road trip, if you take a trip abroad, nevertheless, he is to observe the Pesach. The Most High is telling them this because the Pesach is important. It is a perpetual obligation for the children of Israel. Somebody tell me why. What's so important about the Pesach? Why does he want them to remember this? Why do they have to keep it?
It reminds us of the day we were brought from Mitzrayim.
There you go. It's the birth of a nation. It's literally our birth as a nation, as a people. It's literally when the Most High has redeemed the firstborn. It's literally where the Most High has literally delivered us and saved us from oppression. It's something he wants us to continue to remind us. So this is one of the biggest deals that the Most High says. He says, but if he will observe it in the second month on the 14th day at dusk. So I'll give you a 30-day period. Okay. And then you are to eat matzah with maror. The maror right here is the bitter herbs, and they are to leave none of it until the morning. You cannot leave any of it until the morning. Again, testifying to the fact that a morning is completely a new day. Okay. So they are not to break any of its bones. They are to observe it according to all the regulations of Pesach. Okay. So you and I are not here to reinvent Yah's way of doing the regulations of the Pesach. We're here to understand it while we're in our exile, because he's telling us, I need you to put the emphasis on the Pesach, because it's the Pesach that I need you to remember because of everything I've done for you. That's why I'm telling you. He says, but the person who is clean and not on a trip, who fails to observe Pesach, will be cut off from his people, because he did not bring the offering for Yahweh at his designated time. That person will bear the consequences of his sin, meaning I'm going to cut that person off from his people. Okay. A lot of people think, well, that's just spiritual. No, he's talking about physically. I'm going to physically cut you off some type of way to get you out of there. So if you were clean and there was no reason for you not to keep it, and I'm talking about when they were in the land, or even when they're out there in the wilderness, he said, if you didn't keep it, okay, and you weren't on no trip, and you failed to observe it, meaning to do and guard what I'm telling you, I'm cutting you off. That's how important the Pesach is. So getting cut off, Go ahead.
When you say the term cut you off, is that forever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, Gil, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm so excited that you brought that up for the simple fact that we as a human race and as a group of people that have been taught by other people that Yah is, now Yah is about love, and he's about forgiveness. He's about kindness, and he's showing, he does show mercy, but Yah only shows mercy to those who love him and keep his commandments. That's what the Torah tells us. Yah loves those and shows mercy to those who keep his commandments. Okay. Let me show it to you so you won't think that I said this. Okay. Because I'm your brother, and my job as your brother is to be someone who's to guard and protect and make sure that you be like, okay, that's my brother. My brother's not going to do anything to harm me. He's actually going to make sure that I don't get hurt. So the Most High has told us, and this is not a doctrine. Okay. This is not a teaching from men. This is what the Most High has said. It's found in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 7. I'm able to go there quick and fast is because I understand what he's telling them. Okay. Let me see. 7. Written, what verse is it? Is it 23? Is it not related? Or is anyone after destroyed? The idea behind us being cut off from the Most High. Let me see. Deuteronomy 7. I think it's around 6. Let me see. Okay, here you go. I was correct. Deuteronomy chapter number 7, verse number. Okay. Let's start in verse number 8. Okay, here you go. All right. Or 7. 6 is even better. Okay. You are a people. Okay. They're set apart as Kadosh to Yahweh. Your Elohim. Yahweh, your Elohim, has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his own unique treasure. Okay. Yahweh did not set his heart on you or choose you because you numbered more than any other people. On the contrary, you were the fewest of all peoples. Rather, it was because Yahweh loved you And because he wanted to keep the oath in which he had sworn to your ancestors, that Yahweh brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from a life of slavery, which we're talking about Pesach, under the hand of Paro, the king of Mitzrayim. From this, you can know that Yahweh, your Elohim, is indeed Elohim, the faithful Elohim who keeps his covenant and extends grace to those who love him and observe his commandments to 1,000 generations. But can't forget this. He repays those who hate him to their face and destroys them. He will not be slow to deal with someone who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore, you are to keep, meaning guard, the commandments, the laws, and the rulings in which I'm giving you today and obey them. Okay? And because you are listening to these rulings and keeping and obeying them, Yahweh your Elohim will keep with you the covenant and the mercy he swore to your ancestors. Do you see that? So I'll show grace to those who love me. I will keep with you the covenant of mercy that I swore to your ancestors. Okay? He will love you. He will bless you. And he goes on to talk about all those different things. So mercy and compassion and not being cut off is only available for those who keep Yah's laws. This is the reason why he said, if this person wasn't clean, or was clean, and they felt to keep what I said about the Pesach, and they were on a trip and they just, hey, it's not important, I missed it, I'm going to cut that person off from his people. When you die, it says that they were gathered to their people. See, so being cut off, that doesn't necessarily just mean only death. It means I'm going to cut you off from your people. And if you're Israel and you've been set aside, the Most High is not going to be slack concerning the person who deliberately goes. He says, if anybody goes against what I said deliberately, I'm cutting that person off. Just like he sent the Malach before the children of Israel and he said, if you don't do what he says, he's not going to forgive you because my name is in him. So we've been taught that Yah is going to be, he's going to be understanding. And Yah is not going to be understanding because Yah has already told us what it is. Even while we're in exile, we can play, and I say play dumb. I'm not saying anybody on here is playing dumb. What a lot of people like to play dumb, everybody. They like to act as if because you're in exile, you don't know, or because you don't have access to everything Israel has had access to, that you're not going to be held responsible. But that's not true, because the Most High says, I'm going to take the rebels as well as the people who did do what I say out of the countries that they were scattered and bring them out to the wilderness and judge them face to face like I did your ancestors, and I will rid you of the rebels. So there's a group of people that are rebels in the house of Israel, even to this day, that are not going to do what the Most High says. But they think that when they get there, he's going to understand. When they don't understand that he's telling us, because I sent you in exile, you need to be open. You need to be listening to what I'm telling you, because this is your test. I sent you to a place that I knew you were going to be surrounded with other gods. I sent you to a place where I knew you were going to eat unclean foods. I sent you to a place where I knew you weren't going to be exposed to me by them. I sent you to a place where I knew that you were going to profane my name. I sent you there. So why would I send you somewhere? And I promised you this, and all of a sudden, you think I'm going to say to you that you couldn't do it, or you didn't want to do it, or you couldn't do it? No. I'm looking for you to do something. I'm looking for you to change your ways. I'm looking for you to think about what has happened to you, like they talk about in Deuteronomy chapter number 30. While you're in the lands of your enemies, while you are there, okay? Because these are not just biblical stories for us, like the New Testament puts it out and it gets all excited about eternal life. No, you and I have to do something. And if you fail to do this, you're done. That's just what it is. When the time arrives that all these things have come upon you, this is in chapter number 30 of Deuteronomy, which is right after chapter number 28, chapter number 27, which talks about the curses. 28 is the curses and the blessing. 29 goes over what happens to a person who says that they don't want to do what I'm telling them. And then finally, he tells us what's going to happen. That you guys are going to go to the places that where you've gone. Both the blessing and curses that's going to come upon you are there among the nations. Look, listen very carefully, to which Yahweh Elohim has driven you. Who drove us here? Yahweh has driven us here. Then at last you would start using your mind. You would start thinking about what's happened to you. And it doesn't stop there. He says, and you will return to Yahweh your Elohim, and you will pay attention to what he has said, which will be exactly what I'm ordering you to do today. A lot of people don't know that the Most High, when he spoke to the children of Israel in the book of Deuteronomy, everybody, it only happened on one day. It only happened. He spoke to them that one day. That's why he says everything I'm telling you, you're going to do it. You and your children with all your heart and all your being. That wasn't a couple of years. That was one day. What he was doing is he understood that the Most High told him, listen, you've walked around this mountain long enough. Now you guys are going to go in land. So he says, bring them out. You tell them everything that we've gone over. You explain to them where they've been traveling. You give them the backdrop on what happened with their ancestors, and you prepare them because they're going into the land. However, you're not going. So the Torah could have been read and was read and explained and expounded on in one day. Just like you see in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, when they came back to the land, it was one day. They read the whole entire Torah in one day. So for us, when we're going through, we're taking Shabbat, we're taking Tuesday, Yom Shalishi, Yom Kamishi, and we're going through the Torah. We're going step by step, line by line. We're trying to figure out where they've gone, how to set up, who did the Most High talk to. He's letting us know the relationship that I had with your ancestors. He's letting us know with the relationship that he had with Moshe. He's letting us know what I did tell Aharon, the priesthood. He's letting us know all the different experiences that the people who wanted answers, to let us know, if you want to find an answer about something I said, all you got to do is to go back and see what I told Moshe. Because I didn't talk to anybody else. If you and I are seeking an answer from the Most High about something that's not in the Torah, you may not get your answer. Because the Most High is not interested in talking to us. We read last week where we had made Yah so mad that he said he turned his face against us. I'm not here to answer your questions right now. What you're here in exile for is for you to learn what I said. So you can turn, verse number 2, and you will return, you will shuv, you will change the direction that you were going in and to your Elohim, and you will pay attention. That means you're going to shamar, which is listen and guard, shema, to what he has said, which will be exactly what I'm ordering you to do today. This is Moshe telling us what Yah told him to tell us. You and your children. And you have to do it with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all your being. Some people read over this and think that the Most High is just talking about when you feel like it. Or you can have some disagreements with what Moshe said, and you just don't agree with it. Yah says all of your heart and all of your being. So are you telling me, David, are you telling me that I can't be anything other than all? Yes, this is your test. I want all of your mind. I don't want some of your mind. I want all of your being. I want your stomach. I want your thoughts. I want your hurts. I want your pains. I want your doubts. I want it all. I want you to know the relationship that you and I have. I am your master. I am your Elohim. And how you feel doesn't matter right now. It doesn't matter how you feel. It's about what I've said. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to do exactly what I'm ordering you to do today. It wasn't Moshe ordering them to do anything. Most High told him to tell them what to do. So that's what it is, you and your children. If your children don't want to listen to you, then they're not going to listen to Yah. And you're going to have to be okay with the fact that they're going to have to live with those consequences. According to Jeremiah, I reward every man and woman and everybody according to the deeds that they have done, according to their manner and their life and their conduct. And at that point, Yah will reverse your exile and show you mercy. You see, that's what it is going to be. And if you notice, Gil, he said, if you do exactly what I have ordered you to do today, that means going back to Deuteronomy 7, I show mercy and compassion to those who do what I say. And he's going to return you, and he's going to gather you from all the peoples to which Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you, because he's the one who led us here. And if one of yours was scattered to the far end of the sky, Yahweh your Elohim will go there and gather you from even there. So you don't need to get a plane ticket and try to go down to Dimona and get around a whole bunch of people, say we're leaving and, you know, we're going to get out of America. No, I want you to wait for me, because if you don't wait for me, then you're not really honoring the Pesach, because that's what I did for Pesach. I came and I rescued you. So in this text right here, I'm telling you that I scattered you, and I'm going to come and gather you from where I scattered you. So what we're going to do is another Pesach, but just in a different way. Now the people are not going to say, you know, the Most High has delivered the children of Israel from Egypt. They're not going to say that anymore when I come and get you. That had never come out in anybody's mouth. Okay. Let me see where it is. I think it's in Jeremiah, and because I got to show you what he's talking about. I don't want you to believe anything I'm saying. I want you to see it for yourself. Praise the mighty Yah. Jeremiah chapter number 16. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter number 16 right quick and see what he's talking about. Because Yah is real and he's talking to us. He says, listen, you need to understand your situation. You need to understand when I'm telling you about Pesach, I'm not telling you because I know that you can't keep it. I'm not telling you that because you have an offering, you can't get it, so you feel bad about it. I'm not telling you about Pesach for that reason. I'm telling you Pesach because I have a plan for you. I want you to understand the significance of it, because if you understand the significance of it, you will be better prepared for what's coming. That means that you get a chance to start changing your mind about me. Verse number 14, therefore says Yahweh, the day will come when people will no longer swear, as Yahweh lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt. They won't say that no more. What they're going to say, but as Yahweh lives. Yes, because he lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land to the north and out of all the countries where he drove them. I will bring them back to their own land, which I gave to their ancestors. That's what they're going to be saying. So when Moshe is giving his prophecy and his declaration here, he's letting us know, because he says, when the time comes for you, you understand, it comes upon you, and you're scattered among the nations. The people he was talking to, they didn't get scattered among the nations, not that generation. They didn't get scattered. So that word that he gave to them was for the people that were in them, their descendants, because guess what? I'm not just giving you the words for the people who are standing here before me today. This covenant goes to those who are not even standing here. Praise to the mighty Yah. So listen, he's telling us that I'm going to come and I'm going to get you and I'm going to gather you. So don't go anywhere. I need to show you what's going to be. I'm going to show you with your own eyes that you're going to see that who I am. Because that's when you're going to recognize that I am your master. Because so when someone comes and tells you that they saved you and delivered you, you would ask them, when and how did you deliver me and how did you save me? You said that this man died on the cross and he delivered you. I asked the guy today, did he deliver the children of Israel? No. Was it physical? No. Did he get them out of their oppression? No. Did he take them to their lands and distribute the land? No, there's all no's to that. Well, what he did do is he did something spiritually for us. And I said, well, how can you quantify that? How can you qualify that? How can you prove that? Where's the evidence of that? We have evidence of the Most High delivering the children of Israel out of Mizraim. And one of the evidences is that the descendants of those people are scattered to the far ends of the sky, which is you and I. And that's why Deuteronomy 30 should resonate with your soul and your body and your mind. It says, listen, I'm going to bring you back to the land. Like I just told you in Jeremiah, Elohim will bring you back into the land. He's going to bring you back into the land. You're not going to heaven. Your ancestors possessed, and you will possess it. Were you talking about the people that were in the wilderness at this time? I'm talking to the people who were scattered. He will make you prosper there, and you will become even more numerous than your ancestors. Because right now you're not numbered like they were. Then Yahweh your Elohim will circumcise your hearts. Then when I bring you back to the land, Yahweh will circumcise your hearts and the hearts of your children. So does circumcision have something to do with what you and I need to do? Is this something, a work that the Most High is going to do? This is the work that the Most High is going to do. When he talks about circumcising our minds, okay, and our hearts, what he's saying is, I'm going to cut off that flesh. I'm going to bring you to a point where you're going to be something different than what you are. Right now, you guys don't love me with all of your heart. You don't. You don't even know what that means. Listen, I'm going to circumcise your hearts, your minds, and the hearts of your children, the minds of your children. To what type of children? To the ones who were disrespectful? No. Didn't he just tell us to turn back your heart, all your heart? Didn't he say you would pay attention to exactly what he said? With all your heart, all your being, with all your heart and being that you have within yourself. You got to do your part. And we've been told that you don't have to do nothing. He did it all. That is not true. The Most High is telling us, you got to do your part. I'm mad at you. You got to work your way back to me. And you have to show me that you're willing to do what I told you. And willing your ancestors weren't willing to do. He tells us in Leviticus chapter number 26, your ancestors hated what I told them, and they rejected what I said. They had a problem with the Shabbat, and they got a problem marrying who I told them to marry. They got a problem doing what I tell them to do. They have problems. They're hard-headed. They won't listen to what I'm talking about. Verse number 7, Yahweh will put all these curses on your enemies and those who hated and persecuted you. You will return. And what are you going to do? You're going to pay attention to what Yahweh says and obey his commandments, which I'm giving you today. So the commandments that they received today, on that day that he spoke to them, is the same commandments that when you and I get back to the land, those are going to be the very same commandments that you and I are going to be doing. There won't be any change. So when Jeremiah says that he's going to give us a new covenant, it's not going to be like the old. What he's saying is, you're going to actually do what Yah says. The way that it's going to be new is, I'm not going to have a man come and talk to you on my behalf. I'm going to talk to you directly. And if you're not ready for that at this time, you're done. So when the children of Israel were supposed to go up on the mountain to receive the Torah of Yah, they were afraid of Yah because they knew that they weren't going to keep it. Because immediately after he went up and said, hey, you go talk to Yah on our behalf, they made a golden calf image because that was already in their hearts. So the people that Yah is bringing back is the people who are going to return, and they're ready to do what he says. And he says, I'm going to return you, and you're going to pay attention to what Yahweh says, which will be the commandments in which I'm giving you today. So those commandments are not changing. Verse number 9, then Yahweh will give you more than enough in everything you set out to do. The fruit of your body, the fruit of your livestock, the fruit of your land will all do well. If you notice, he keeps talking about fruit. He keeps talking about the fruit of the body, the fruit of the livestock, the fruit of your land, it will all do well. Okay. There won't be no more diseases. And again, Yahweh will once again rejoice to see you do well. Is Yah rejoicing us right now? No, he's not. He's not rejoicing in us because we're not doing really well in our bodies. We don't have the wealth that we're supposed to have in our land. We don't have our land right now. So Yah's not rejoicing in us right now. He's only going to rejoice in us when we're back in our land. He's only going to rejoice in us to see us do well and not be going against us when we decide that we're going to do what he says and we're back in our land, just as he rejoiced in your ancestors. The ancestors that they're mentioning right here in verse number 9 is not the people of Korev or Mount Sinai. It's Yah tells us that he hated that generation. He hated them because they were so hard-hearted, so stiff-necked. I could show you, he said he hated them. He was disgusted by them because they wouldn't listen to what he had to say. So don't think from one moment that he's talking about those people, that he rejoiced in them. He didn't rejoice in them. The ancestors he's referring to that he rejoiced in was Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Why Abraham? Because Abraham did everything that the Most High told him to do. And that's exactly what you and I must do in order for Yah to rejoice in us. Therefore, if you and I are not willing to do Genesis chapter number 26, verse number 5, you and I are sadly mistaken. It says this. It says all this He told him, listen, let me start in 4, not 5. He says this to his son. He said, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. Like he just told us, I will give all the lands to your descendants. By your descendants, all the nations of the earth will bless themselves. They're going to bless themselves in these descendants. Okay. Verse number 5. All this is going to happen. All this is because Abraham listened what I said. Yah's talking directly. He didn't have a prophet talking to him. He told him directly. He did everything I said. He did what I told him to do. He followed my mitzvot, my regulations, and my Torah. That right there is teaching. He guarded what I told him to guard. He did what I told him to do. He didn't make any excuses. He followed what I said. He wasn't willing to withhold anything from me. I put him to the test and he passed. This is what Yah is looking for the people who will receive the blessing of the Most High that he promised to our fathers, Abraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov. You and I cannot withhold or refrain anything from Yah. No part of your life, no part of your mind, no part of your marriage, no part of your job, no part of your finances, nothing you can hold back from the Most High. That's what it is. So when he tells us in Deuteronomy, chapter number 30 again, Yahweh will bless or give you more than enough in everything you set out to do. The fruit of your body, the fruit of your livestock, the fruit of your land will all do well, because that's what Yah has done for our ancestors. Because why? Because Abraham did what I told him. He listened to what I said. And once again, Yahweh will rejoice to see you do well, just as he rejoiced in your ancestors. However, all this will happen only if you pay attention. That means that you would guard. That means that you would do. That means that you would listen to what Yahweh your Elohim says. If you try to listen to somebody else instead of what Yah says, this is not going to happen for you. If you're listening to your boyfriend, this is not going to happen for you. If you're listening to your husband, this is not going to happen for you. You and I have to listen to Yah. If you're listening to your job or you listen to a counselor, this is not going to happen for you. If you're listening to the New Testament, this is not going to happen for you. If you listen to Paul, Peter, James, John, Timothy, any of those people, any Greek person, it's not going to happen for you. You need to understand the only way that you and I can ever get back with Yah is if you and I would obey his mitzvot and his regulations, which are written in the book of the Torah. If you listen to anything else, you're done. Period. Point blank over. If you turn to Yahweh with all your heart and all your being, that is your job to turn back to the Most High. For this is the command in which I'm giving you today. Is not too hard for you. Stop making excuses. It's not out of your reach. It isn't in the sky. So you don't need to ask who will go up into the sky for us and bring it to us and make us hear it so that we can obey it. What it's saying, you don't need anybody to go up in the sky. You don't need Jesus Christos from the New Testament to go up and receive it and bring it back down to you. You don't need to have someone likewise. It isn't beyond the sea. So you don't need anybody to go get in a boat or travel across from nation to nation, so that you need to ask who will cross the sea for us and bring it to us and make us hear it so we can obey it. Making excuses like, I don't got it, so, I don't have it right now. It's over in Jerusalem, so I don't have to do it. It's over in the land. I'm not there. It's not beyond the sea, so you don't have to ask anybody to go there for you. It's not in the sky where you have to find someone to travel for you. Why? Because on the contrary, the word is very close to you. Where is it? It is in your mouth. It is inside of your mouth and even in your mind. Therefore, you could do it. The Torah is there. The presence of it is there. It's not that the Torah is not there. The problem is that you and I are not willing to do it because we make excuses about how hard and how difficult it is. And it's not. Why would Yah make something hard? Why would he make it difficult? Why would he make it super, super difficult for us to do what he says if his intention is to bring us back to the land? Did he make so is he saying that the Torah is hard? The Torah is not hard. If the law is hard, the laws are not hard. They're not hard at all. There is no difficulty. So this is what Moshe says in closing. Look, I'm presenting you today, the same day that I expounded the Torah to you, with on one hand, I'm going to give you life and good. And on the other hand, you have death and evil. In that I'm ordering you today to love Yahweh your Elohim. That's my command. That if you love Yahweh, you don't need the New Testament to tell you that, God so loved the world, or, this is where all the law and the prophets is hung on these two commands, to love Yah and to love his people, love each other. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He said, I'm ordering you today to love Yahweh. I'm ordering you today to love Yahweh. That's number one. Number two, follow his ways. That means you stay on the path that he told you. Okay. Number three, obey what's on that path, which are the commandments, the regulations, and the rulings. Because when we're on that path, Pesach is part of that cycle. It's part of that path. When you and I are going in a circle, because that's what being Hebrew is cyclical. When we're going on our cycle, we're going from Shabbat to Shabbat. Then after we go Shabbat, we're going to Moedim to Moedim. We go to the Pesach, first fruits, Shavuot. Then we're going to skip over that. And then we're going to go to Yom Kippur. Then we're going to go to Yom Teruah. We're going to go to Sukkot. You understand? So we're going on the cycles. So on our cycles and on our path, Yah says, when you're on these paths that you're on, you need to obey what I'm telling you. You're going to come across the regulations at that in particular time. And Yah tells us, why would Moshe introduce this to us? And then you all of a sudden, there's people that say, guess what? I can't do it because I can't bring the offering. I can't do it. There's no offering. Of course, we don't have a priesthood. You thought he would send us to a place and we have a priesthood? No, what Yah is looking for is for the person to say, I'm willing to follow. I'm willing to follow. I love you. When I talk about love, I'm looking towards what you said. I love you. I'm committed to you 100%. I'm willing to learn from you. I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to obey what you're telling me. If you do, you will live. If you will do what he said, you will live. And that part of life is not in heaven. That part is on the earth, and you will increase your numbers through what? How would a person increase their numbers? You're going to increase your numbers through the relationships that govern marriage. That's the only way you're going to increase your numbers. That's the only way you're supposed to increase your numbers, is through your marriage, which is a marriage covenant given by the Most High. And Yahweh, your Elohim, will bless you in the land that you're entering in. If you've already had children, we've done your job. You've increased your numbers. You understand? We had our time. We've increased our numbers. Let the rest of Israel, the children that you've had and children and grandchildren, let them continue on and fulfilling the command to multiply and fill the earth, thus keeping the commandment of the Most High. And Yahweh, your Elohim, will bless you in the land. That's where I'm going to bless you at. You are going to enter in and take possession of it. You see? But if your heart, meaning your little mind, if you refuse to listen, and if you're drawn away to prostrate yourselves before other gods and serve them, I'm announcing you today that you will certainly perish. You will not live long in the land of Yahweh Elohim that you're crossing the yard to enter and possess. I'm going to call on heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have presented you with life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore, you choose life. Choose it so that you will live, you and your descendants. By doing what? Loving Yahweh, your Elohim. Number two, paying attention to what he says. Number three, clinging to him. Why? For that is the purpose of your life, Yisrael. And on this depends the length of time you will live in the land Yahweh. Your Elohim swore to give your ancestors Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And for us, he's telling you and I, even though he's telling them right now, the rules haven't changed. Okay. So our goal right now is found in verse number 20. I want you to love Yahweh, your Elohim. I want you to pay attention to what he says, and I need you to cling to him, because that's the purpose of your life. Your purpose in life is not to be some super duper successful person. The purpose of your life is not to have a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of property. Your purpose of your life is not to get the accolades of other men. If you care about what other people think about you, and you care less and you care very little about what the Most High, how he sees you, you're making a grave mistake. The only thing that matters right now is loving Yah. The only thing important is following what he says and paying attention. If you and I don't do that, we're done. That's just what it is. So Gil, thank you so much. That's why I was excited, because I'm seeing for myself that the Most High is not, listen, if he tells us that this is what it is, he's not just talking to them. He's telling us, if you got a mindset that if anything and I told you, he's using Pesach as the example. Pesach is just another one of the things that I bring before you. If it's not Pesach, it could be, well, how do you feel about, eating this? I told you what it was. Are you going to go against what I said? How do you feel about the Shabbat? I told you about the Shabbat. I told you anybody that treats it ordinary is going to be put to death. That's up to you. So don't blame me when it comes down to your decisions. You made the decision to do what you want to do. Don't complain. See, so we don't have no personal guarantees. Ain't nothing that you and I signed that tells us when we go back out and Yah decides to judge us, that anybody that's going to be able to go in based on them just saying they're Israel. That's not going to happen. Yah's going to have to filter us and find out if you and I are willing to be the people to stand before him, and don't run and go to your tent because you're scared to hear what he says, because you know inherently that you're not going to do what he says. So you and I, remember, our ancestors didn't go up on the mountain. Moses did because they didn't want to go. We were supposed to walk on that mountain to receive what Moshe got. He got it on our behalf. The time for us is coming where you and I are going to have to walk and go up on that mountain. That's what's going to be. Just like our ancestors after Moshe came and he said, go down and bring the elders up with you, because these are the representatives now. Come, bring them up. But he didn't put his hand on them. Why? Because guess what? They didn't want that relationship. Some people are okay with the status quo. They're okay with the mediocrity in the relationship. Just like some people are married, right? I always use marriage because marriage is the number one, institution and the number one covenant that you and I can even relate to for some of us who are married. Some people stay in marriages because they're just married. They don't really want to be there. They're just the status quo. They're just going along to get along. Not because they're trying to make something grow. Not because they understand the purpose of being together. See, that's what the relationship with the Most High is like. Some people are with the Most High out of convenience, what they're going to get out of it, or because they're afraid to leave. And Yah's telling us straight up, I want to be with you as much as you want to be with me. I want to be with you just as much as you want to be with me. I love you just as much as that you love me. He said, those are your words. No, then I can show you right now where he says that. You return to me, I'll return to you. And that's something that we are missing. The Most High is letting us know this relationship is not going to be one-sided. I'm not your servant. I'm not going to do what you asked of me because you asked me to do it. It don't work like that. I'm the master. I tell you what it is. I'm the husband. I control it all. You don't control this. You understand? And if you don't trust what I'm saying, we shouldn't be married. You shouldn't be married. If a woman's not listening to her husband, and he's, number one, he is worthy of being listened to because he hasn't done anything outside. Now, if he had an affair and he cheated, I can see you saying, no, I ain't listening to you. You're not trustworthy. If he's not doing what he's supposed to do, I can see you saying, no, I'm not going to listen to him. But we're not talking about a human being. We're talking about the creator of the heavens and the earth. What has Yah done to be proven to be unworthy of the respect and the reverence that's due to him and the fear that's due to his name? What has he done that you and I would say, I'm not going to listen to what you're saying? What has he done? He hasn't done anything. So the problem is not Yah, the problem is us. That's just what it is. And so we need to change. We need to evaluate ourselves, and we need to be honest with ourselves and stop lying to ourselves. We don't have it all figured out, and he knows that. Like we're going to talk about on Shabbat. I just mentioned the fact that we're living out of convenience, and that's what we are. We're the status quo. And the moment that we think that we've obtained something and we achieve some level of, we're okay with the Most High and we're satisfied with what we've done and what we're doing right now, then we're fooling ourselves. What else can we do, Dawid? You're making it seem like we're not doing nothing. Well, we're making some adjustments. We're making some changes. I'm not putting anybody's efforts down. What I'm saying is just think about all the stuff that our ancestors did. Well, that hasn't had nothing to do with me. Well, yes, it does. It does have something to do with you because the same blood that was running in their veins is running in your veins. The same disobedience that they were doing, they taught it to our ancestors. They taught it to your grandmother, your grandfather, and they got it and they passed it on. And Yah tells us all the time, don't be like your fathers. Don't be like them. Love them, but don't be like them. I don't want you to be like them. I want you to listen to me. And if you ain't willing to listen, we're not going down that path anymore. We're not. Yah's not bringing any rebels into the land. He's not bringing anybody back who don't really want to be there. And if you really want to be there, then you're going to be the people that need, I'm ready for change. So let me see what you're working with. Let me see how serious you really are. That's what Yah's doing. He's testing us to find out if you really want to do what I say. And it starts now. It ain't about the stuff. It's about whether or not you're willing. Hallelujah. Praise be to the living Elohim. Thank you, Gil.